At my 70th birthday dinner, my study abroad grandchildren threw the sweet potatoes I'd lovingly grown onto the floor and called me an old hag in Russian. They started talking trash about me right to my face in French. "They're just complimenting you, Mom," my son explained with a dismissive wave. However, little did they know, their ignorant grandmother was once a senior diplomatic interpreter who speaks 8 languages fluently. What I was about to do would leave everyone speechless. And I am wondering, where would this happen in your world? Tell me your city or country in the comments. Subscribe for more. So here is what happened next. When I heard that my grandchildren who had been studying abroad would return to celebrate my 70th birthday, I worked through the night to dig up sweet potatoes that I had been growing for 3 months. Early the next morning, I went back to the garden to personally harvest some of the fruits and vegetables I had cultivated. On the day of my birthday, the house was filled with people. I had set up a small roasting grill specifically to cook the produce from my garden. Dear grandchildren, come and taste these roasted sweet potatoes that you used to love so much. You certainly can't find sweet potatoes this good abroad. However, my grandchildren all stared at the plate of sweet potatoes with disgust. My eldest granddaughter turned her head away with obvious revulsion and spoke first. "Grandmother, please stop roasting them. I won't eat them." I pushed the sweet potatoes toward my grandson, but he also showed clear irritation. "I won't eat them either." I placed the sweet potatoes back in the basket. "That is perfectly fine. Grandmother has also prepared mushroom soup especially for you. It is incredibly fresh and delicious." I picked up a white porcelain bowl and handed over a bowl filled to the brim with soup. Little Nova reacted as if she had seen something terrifying, pushing it away with her hand and screaming loudly. "Can you not understand human language? We have already told you we will not eat anything." Scalding soup splashed onto my wrist, causing me to release my grip in pain. The sound of the white porcelain bowl shattering made the entire room fall silent, and the atmosphere became instantly tense. My daughter-in-law Hazel immediately gave her a meaningful look. "You child, your grandmother loves you dearly. You should apologize to her immediately." Little Nova huffed lightly and spoke imperiously in Spanish. "She is nothing but a country bumpkin who tries to please me with these embarrassing things. Why should I apologize to her?" My eldest granddaughter also used her fork to push around the food on her plate while speaking in Russian. "Mom, this food is absolutely disgusting. How can you expect me to eat it?" My grandson spoke with even more obvious disgust in French. "I hope this old hag stops bothering me and just gets lost." Hazel frowned and responded in Italian. "Your grandmother is simply an ignorant country old woman. Just bear with it a little longer. In a moment, I will take you out to eat at McDonald's." They made no effort to hide the disgust on their faces. "She must be a pig. How can she eat absolutely anything?" My grandchildren chattered away, all communicating in their respective specialized languages. They actively discussed how to deceive me and how to dispose of these filthy things. My son Alexander cleared his throat and said to me, "Mom, the children have just returned to the country and have not yet adapted to domestic food. Please do not take offense." My expression darkened as I elegantly returned to my seat at the head of the table, crossed my hands, and spoke in an icy tone. "Ungrateful wolves." "What?" My eldest granddaughter heard my voice and suspected she had misheard. I looked at her elegantly and clearly repeated in French. My voice was not loud, but it caused the previously lively room to fall completely silent. Using perfectly pure French that sounded like a native Parisian aristocrat, I asked clearly and deliberately, word by word, "Could you please repeat who you just called a pig?" I switched to German and asked, "Did you just say that sweet potatoes are pig feed?" Then I spoke in Italian. "After all these years abroad, is this how you learned to insult your elders?" I raised my voice with a tone of reproach and replied in Japanese, "Where are your manners?" Panic, shame, and confusion flashed across Hazel's face. My grandchildren's expressions showed various emotions as I stared at them with sharp eyes. Then I cursed in Spanish, "Disgraceful descendants." When I finished speaking, the room became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Alexander seemed to have something stuck in his throat as he opened his mouth, but could not produce a single sound. Hazel pointed at me in disbelief. Even her words came out trembling. "Mom, how do you know? Is this how you normally describe your elders?" My voice was calm, but carried an undeniable authority. Alexander seemed to suddenly react. "Mom, what are you doing? Why must you make such a good birthday celebration so uncomfortable?" My son stepped forward, not angry about the children insulting his mother, but instead blaming his own mother. "How ridiculous! Making it uncomfortable, in your eyes. Am I an unreasonable old woman who cannot distinguish right from wrong? Mom, we are all family. Please do not create family conflicts." Create family conflicts? I looked coldly at this son into whom I had poured my life's blood and effort. For the sake of your so-called family harmony, you would just stand there and watch these young people humiliate your mother like this? Alexander slammed his fork heavily on the table. "They are just children. What is wrong with an old lady who gardens all day being said a few words? Why can you not be more tolerant of the younger generation? Foreign culture promotes freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want." My eldest granddaughter proudly lifted her head. Hazel also shrilly accused. "You just learned a few foreign phrases from television. What is so impressive about that? It is as if no one else can do it." I snorted coldly. "Even the youngest of them is 19 years old. Go ask around and see whose 19-year-old child insults their own grandmother like this." I stood up with anger flashing in my eyes, staring directly into Alexander's eyes. "I devoted my heart and soul to raising you. I never taught you to disrespect your elders. Look what you have raised these children to become." Unexpectedly, Hazel exploded. "You old thing, do not push your luck. I came here with good intentions to celebrate your birthday, and you actually say I raised the children without manners. If Alexander had not insisted on coming back, do you think we would care to come to this godforsaken place?" At this point, Alexander spoke with undeniable threat in his voice. "Mom, stop making trouble. You are making such a fuss over such a small matter. If you keep causing such chaos, how will you face the children in the future?" My grandchildren looked at me with eyes full of hatred and impatience, openly mocking me. This old witch probably watches too many television dramas and really thinks she is impressive. If it were not for Dad, she is just a broken-down teacher who would have starved to death long ago. I will never come to this shabby little place again. It is dirty and broken, and the roads are so damn narrow that my BMW cannot even drive in. If it were not for Dad, does she think she could live such a good life? They all spoke at once, mocking my incompetence. I slowly stood up. "Since you all dislike this old lady so much, then please go back to wherever you came from." I put the sweet potatoes on the table into the refrigerator and dumped those elaborate dishes into the garbage, can one plate at a time. My grandchildren all left their seats with arrogance, as if anyone cares. Hazel grabbed her coach bag and walked away haughtily with the children. The sound of car engines roared from outside the small courtyard. Alexander looked at his departing children, then at me cleaning up the table, and snorted lightly. "Mom, why did you have to do this?" I cleaned up the leftover food and arranged the tables and chairs in the house neatly. The house was empty and quiet, with only me remaining. I had always enjoyed peace and quiet, so this was actually quite nice. I lay quietly in my armchair, looking at this small courtyard where there was still a peach tree that my mother had planted years ago. The old house was my mother's ancestral home that she had left to me. From its construction until now, it had stood for over 150 years. Many people had expressed willingness to pay high prices to purchase this small courtyard, but I disagreed. My son had also argued with me many times about this, calling me an old-fashioned relic. This small courtyard carried the memories of several generations. Many pieces of furniture in the house were also quite old, each one worth considerable money. Those ignorant little brats actually disdained this as broken, and that as old my orange cat, who had been my companion for many years, lay on my stomach purring contentedly. I slowly stroked the fur on his back when the wooden door creaked open. Several men dressed in black suits entered. "Excuse me, are you?" I stood up and inquired politely. The man in black uniform spoke with an unfriendly tone. "This house now belongs to our boss. You have 3 hours to get out, or do not blame us for being impolite." "Who is your boss? How did my house become yours? You are trespassing on private property. If you do not leave, I will call the police." I responded just as impolitely. A young woman smiled and ran over to mediate. "Ma'am, this courtyard has already been sold to our boss by Mr. Alexander." My whole body trembled as I dialed Alexander's phone number, my fingers so cold I could barely press the screen. When the call connected, Alexander's voice was full of impatience. "What is it? Hurry up and say it. I am busy here." "Who gave you permission to sell my house? You sold the house, so where am I supposed to live?" "This is the Reed family house. Why can I not sell it?" "I have already arranged where you will live. The nursing home people will contact you later." I calmly left him with one sentence. "This house is named Sterling. It is my route. Wherever the house is, that is where I am. Without my permission, no one has the right to sell my house." I finally found someone willing to pay a high price for that broken house. They will pay $5 million. Do you know how much $5 million is? You have never seen this much money in your entire life. My grandson nearby chimed in. The nursing home has people to take care of her, and she does not have to do housework. She insists on making trouble for no reason. She really has something wrong with her brain. Hazel interrupted the quarreling. "Do not bother with her. The property rights are in our hands. We must sell it as soon as possible. She is just a powerless country old lady. An $800 per month nursing home is already very good for her. What kind of trouble can she stir up?" I laughed coldly. "If you dare sell my house, from today onwards, I have no such descendants." Just as I hung up the phone, several people got out of a white van outside the door. The man nearby mocked. "An $800 per month nursing home with food and lodging included is much better than living here." The antique furniture in the house was roughly mistreated by that group of crude people, and I was forcibly taken away by people from the nursing home. At the nursing home, a caregiver rudely slammed a plate of bland rice porridge in front of me. The plate still had unidentifiable hair on it. "Could you please help me get a different plate?" I suppressed the disgust in my heart. "If you want good food, you have to pay extra. A plate with vegetables and meat costs $30. I opened my mobile banking app and discovered that my account did not even have enough for a $30 meal. She looked at me with disdain. No money and still putting on airs. After Alexander got married, he tricked me out of my retirement card under the pretense of needing money for marriage, raising children, and paying the mortgage. Alexander said that since I lived alone in the old house with vegetables and meat available, one person would not spend much money. Each month I sold some vegetables and eggs, earning about $800 to barely maintain my living expenses. Alexander continued, "The house is in my name. You have no right to reclaim the usage rights of the old house. You stay in the nursing home properly. I will pay the nursing fees on time otherwise." I laughed coldly. "I do not need your nursing fees. I, Florence Sterling, do not have such a son." After hanging up, I dialed a number that had been sealed away for nearly 20 years. "Hello, this is Florence." Several black luxury cars stopped one after another at the entrance of the nursing home. When the nursing home staff saw the people getting out of the cars, their expressions immediately changed. 1 hour later, I stood on the top floor of the translation center, overlooking this prosperous city. My prized student Albert, now the director of the translation center, stood respectfully behind me. "Teacher, you finally contacted me. Where have you been all these years?" Albert wiped away tears excitedly. "Ever since you retired that year, we have been unable to contact you. How have you been all these years?" I looked at the nearly 50-year-old man before. That spirited young man from years ago now had gray hair at his temples. I smiled lightly. "You have all done very well these years. I often see you in the news." Albert forced a smile. Without you as our teacher, how could there be today's Albert? The translation records you created back then have never been broken by anyone, if it had not been for Alexander. By the way, how has Alexander been these years? I am looking for you this time precisely because of that unfilial son. He actually sold my ancestral home. Please help me contact Lawyer Jones. I want to spare no expense to reclaim the usage rights of my house. Teacher, I will help you contact him immediately. With Albert's support, news of my return quickly spread throughout the industry. Headlines were soon filled with news of the gold medal translator's return, especially the old story of simultaneously translating 8 languages, which was pushed to the top again. My past was also dug up by internet users, including surveillance footage of me eating with my grandchildren at the old house, which was also posted online. Soon, the video of me using 8 languages to rebuke my unworthy descendants went viral. The internet erupted in an uproar, and Alexander's family was also maliciously cursed by internet users. They look decent on the outside, but they are all ungrateful wolves. They eat grandmother's food, spend grandmother's money, insult grandmother, and then throw grandmother into a nursing home. Grandmother is awesome. Using 8 languages to rebuke unworthy descendants is so cool. Love it. The unworthy descendants cannot even pronounce curse words correctly, yet they dare to embarrass themselves in front of grandmother. Soon, Alexander's front door was pelted with rotten eggs and spoiled vegetables by internet users. Some people even specifically blocked the door to curse the unfilial son. Alexander and his wife were too scared to leave their house. While I was drinking coffee with an old friend in a cafe, Alexander called me more than 30 times. I calmly answered the phone. Alexander sounded somewhat anxious. "Mom, are you not afraid of being exposed for fabricating lies like this? You country old lady, you have no shame. But my children and I still have face. Hurry up and live stream a clarification, or do not blame me for cutting off our relationship." "Who told you that was fabricated?" I took a light sip of coffee, the bitter intensity mixed with a hint of sweetness. "I am Florence Sterling, an internationally certified gold medal translator who once created the miracle of simultaneously translating 8 languages. Because of you, I gave up all my honors and pride. Do you still have the face to threaten me with cutting off our relationship?" "Dad, I just searched for news from 20 years ago. The gold medal translator in the news looks exactly like grandmother when she was young." My granddaughter's scream quickly reached my eardrums. Alexander's shocked voice came through the phone. "What? You really are that world-famous translator?" Alexander laughed contemptuously. "Mom, I do not care whether you are some damn translator or not. You are my mother first. I hope you quickly clarify the rumors online and withdraw the lawsuit regarding the old house. Do not wait until I really cut off our mother-son relationship before you come crying to beg me," I said calmly. "The house was mine to begin with. I am just reclaiming what belongs to me." My grandson's harsh roar came from nearby. My dad said he would sell the house to buy me a Porsche. I already told my classmates I would drive a new sports car to school. "You old hag are causing trouble again. Hurry up and cancel the lawsuit. Do not think that hiring a lawyer will accomplish anything. You already transferred the house to me. You cannot get it back. Even if you reclaim it now, it will still be mine in the future." Alexander was furious on the phone, his roaring making my eardrums itch. "Why must you go to such lengths? Do you have to lose your family and become completely alone before you will stop?" I calmly hung up the phone and immediately called Alexander's workplace. "Director Brown, this is Florence. You know about what happened online." I also went to the bank to cancel the supplementary card and report my retirement salary card as lost. Lawyer Jones also collected some materials and sat with me in the cafe. My son Alexander failed to fulfill his filial obligations during the 10 years after my retirement. Can I get back the house I transferred to him? I got straight to the point. "Course you can, Miss Sterling. I will file a lawsuit for you immediately. Your son will receive notice soon." After handling the old Miss Sterling, During the years you were away, our overseas translation company and world language school have developed very well. Our profits have increased hundreds of times compared to the beginning. I took a sip of tea. Is the account you sealed for me all those years ago still there? The account was never sealed. After you gave me the account that year, I have been carefully managing it. Every year I have deposited the translation department dividends and global language school profits into your account. Over the years, with compound interest plus investment returns, the amount is very substantial. Albert handed me a golden card. Teacher, this is the card you gave me originally. I have upgraded it preliminarily. The supplementary card limit has increased to $500,000. The assets in the gold card are only a small portion. Over the years, I used the linked supplementary card to maintain the Reed family's operations. I secretly contacted schools in various countries and sent my grandchildren to prestigious schools abroad through various channels, also funding their education under the guise of scholarships. I thought that plain living was true and family affection was priceless. Now it seems I was wrong. Alexander thought he was an important diplomatic officer. In recent years, his attitude toward me had become increasingly disrespectful. Even the children at home followed his example and increasingly disregarded me. Since that was the case, I would take back everything they possessed. At my favorite brand store, I selected an appropriate dress. The young lady serving me said carefully, "Ma'am, are you sure you want this set? This set is very expensive." I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my sagging, aged face. A face that once dominated the translation world and my current self seemed like completely different people. I handed her my card and said calmly, "Charge it." Under her shocked gaze, I threw the old clothes I had changed out of into the garbage can. Soon, the mall manager came running over personally to serve me. "Miss Sterling, you have finally returned. We have been waiting for you for a long time." The mall manager handed over a black card. "With this card, you can purchase anything in the mall freely." I smiled. How thoughtful. The last time I came was 20 years ago. Back then, this brand was just an unknown small brand. Without your investment back then, we would not have achieved what we have today. The mall manager selected several suits that matched my temperament based on my previous style. Looking at myself in the mirror, I straightened my slightly hunched back. In the afternoon, I received another call from Hazel. "Mom, your retirement salary card has been reported lost. When I was buying a bag at the mall and tried to pay, the card kept showing insufficient funds. Do you know how embarrassed you made me in front of my sisters?" My tone was ice cold. "This makes you lose face. When you humiliated me, did you think about whether elderly people also need dignity?" "Grandmother, why are you so petty?" Mom was not just buying things for herself. She also bought several $1,000s worth of clothes for Dad and wanted to buy me the latest iPhone. Can you not be more generous? My eldest granddaughter's tone was sharp and sour, as if I owed them money. I laughed. "I really underestimated your greed. This is my retirement money. The government gave it to me for my old age, not for you to squander. Taking back what belongs to me is my right." After hanging up, I turned off my phone, and the whole world instantly became peaceful. A week later, Alexander was suspended from the foreign ministry due to conduct issues. Hazel also could not stand her colleagues pointing and whispering, taking sick leave every day until she was finally fired by the company for chronic absenteeism. Alexander's family was completely cut off from economic sources. He became even more frantically determined to sell the old house. However, due to my intervention, the buyers terminated the transaction. Alexander's house was soon forcibly auctioned by the court at a low price because he could not pay the mortgage. I had just come out of the hotel when I saw Alexander, who had been waiting at the hotel entrance for several days. His face was covered with stubble, his dark circles were terrible, and he looked completely exhausted. The renewed me stood elegantly in front of him. He looked at me in disbelief, tentatively uttering one word, "Mom." After seeing my face clearly and confirming it was me, he scrambled over. The bodyguards behind me immediately stepped forward to stop him. "Mom, you are my mother. I am your son. You cannot abandon me or your grandchildren. Alexander roared, struggling desperately. I was fired from my job. They said I had conduct problems. I looked at him coldly. A flash of joy appeared in his eyes. Mom, first unfreeze your retirement card and give me some emergency money. Hazel is threatening divorce because we have no money. The school also sent emails saying the children have character problems and canceled all their scholarships. If this continues, they will be expelled. I have fulfilled my responsibilities. Taking care of your wife and children is your responsibility. Mom, are you really so cruel as to force me to death? Alexander lost his last shred of dignity. My tone was calm. If I really were an incompetent old lady, would I be confined in a nursing home until death? My questioning silenced Alexander. Hazel wore a plain dress, her face gray and lifeless. Mom, you cannot be so heartless. The house mortgage is in default, and the bank will auction it soon. Can you bear to see your grandchildren homeless? Overnight they went from a well-off middle-class family to despised street rats. When passers-by saw Alexander's family, they quickly recognized them. How does this family of ungrateful wolves still have the face to ask grandmother for money? When they sent grandmother to the nursing home, they certainly did not act like this. Passers-by pointed at Hazel and scolded her. She only left the words divorce before covering her face and running back to her parents' house. Alexander's phone rang constantly. Dad, you do not pay the dormitory fees? I will be kicked out of school. Dad, I do not want the sports car anymore. Just give me 2,000 euros for food. I have not eaten for 3 days. Alexander's face contorted. You still have the nerve to ask me for money. I have no money. If you had not spoken carelessly, would we have ended up like this? Alexander turned around, looking pleading, dropping to his knees with a thud, sobbing. Mom, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me. It was all Hazel and those disobedient little beasts who instigated this. I cannot lose my current life, Mom. My tone was terrifyingly calm. This is not your home. What do you look like kneeling here? He raised his head, his face covered with snot and tears. Mom, I know everything. My job was arranged by you. Please speak to the State Department. I will not sell the old house anymore. Give me some money so we can get through this emergency. Money. I smiled slightly. My money is not for raising ungrateful wolves. Mom, I am your son. My gaze suddenly became sharp. When you sold my house, when you allowed your family to humiliate me, when you sent me to the nursing home, did you think about being my son? Alexander was speechless, his face pale as death. Go back and tell your children. I stood up with my back to him. When you do wrong, you must bear the consequences. Legal matters belong to the law, moral matters belong to morality. I will not kick you when you are down, but I will absolutely never lend a helping hand again. Your path in the future is yours to walk. Mom, you cannot be so heartless, Alexander shouted desperately. Heartless. I turned back to look at him, saying word by word, compared to what you did to me, I have been merciful enough. Leave, do not come here again. A few days later, Alexander brought several children to block me at the entrance of the translation center. The grandchildren no longer had their previous arrogant appearance. They all hung their heads low, and several had lost considerable weight. Their clothes were also wrinkled and disheveled. My eldest granddaughter lowered her head pitifully. Grandmother, I was wrong. I should not have cursed at you like that. My grandson also showed remorse. Grandmother, I do not hate sweet potatoes anymore. I have not had a full meal for several days. If you give me a basket of sweet potatoes, I can finish them all. Little Nova kept crying. Sorry, grandmother, we know we were wrong. I watched their crying and repentance, but it could not move me in the slightest. I have already donated the old house to the country. You can go back and live there, but you can never sell it. From now on, you must earn your own living expenses. I will not give you a single penny. Regarding school, I will speak with them to let them keep your student status. Whether you can graduate depends on your performance? Their faces showed various emotions, including dissatisfaction with my arrangements and confusion. Grandmother, how could you donate our house to the country? That is $5 million. $5 million. Grandmother, you have a lot of money, right? Since you donated the house, you should at least give us some of the money. I no longer paid attention and had security escort them away. Hazel was rejected by her parents' family and moved back to the old house. In the back courtyard of the old house, fruits and vegetables were planted again. Alexander bought a used Honda and started driving for Uber. Several grandchildren worked in restaurants washing dishes during their spare time to supplement their living expenses in order to graduate successfully. The focus of my life had long since shifted. I returned to the core of the linguistics world, presiding over important research projects and participating in international exchanges. My assets were more efficiently used to promote the development of language and cultural endeavors. Occasionally, I would hear news about Alexander's family from old neighbors. Alexander and Hazel quarreled constantly, every day over money. Money, money, money. I have no money. If you had not been so foul-mouthed and offended my mother, how would our family have ended up like this? Is none of this your responsibility? Why are you blaming me? Divorce? To supplement their household income, the couple secretly sold valuable items from the old house. Hearing these things, I would occasionally feel a touch of melancholy, but more often I felt relieved. On a summer evening, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows on the top floor of the Language Center as the setting sun painted the city golden. Albert brought me a newly published academic journal with my latest paper featured inside. I took the journal, touched the cover, and smiled slightly. I did not belong to that small family filled with calculation and betrayal, rather to this broader, more worthy realm of dedication. That is our story for today. We hope you enjoyed this incredible tale. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe for more captivating stories like this, and don't forget to like and share this video. Thank you for being here with us. See you next time.